almost 30,000 crore worth project has been done in Namami Ganga, various aspects, which includes prevention of sewage from getting into the river, prevention of effluents from the industries getting into the river.
That the key to to realizing or to implementing the concepts of Arth Ganga is understanding that the river is actually a system, right? It's not a standalone unit. It's a system of interconnected elements. It's a system of interconnected sectors, and more importantly, it's that interaction with society. Okay, a very good afternoon to all of you, and it's such a great pleasure to see so many of you here for this panel, because the theme of this panel is really interesting in a way. We're talking about a concept that was coined by the Prime Minister himself. The concept of Arth Ganga, right? I'll just come to that in a bit, but before I do that, on behalf of all the organizers, I just want to welcome you to this panel. We are very thrilled to have your presence for a couple of reasons. One is because this topic that we're going to discuss today is really, really close to our hearts, and we want to kind of do the best that we can in this domain. And secondly, we would also like to hear from you, because the concept of Arth Ganga is not restricted to officials alone, right? It is also a kind of a two-way communication that we would like to have, right? So, at the end of this panel discussion, we hope that we can get some wonderful insights from you as well, right? So, before we go into this panel discussion, I just want to very quickly brief you about what this is, what this whole Arth Ganga concept is about. Now, this, as I just mentioned a little while ago, this concept was coined by the Honorable Prime Minister during the first meeting of the National Ganga Council that was held in Kanpur, in 2019. Right? And as the name, if you kind of translate that into English, as the name suggests, it's kind of economizing or energizing the economy along the banks of rivers, or the river-related economy, right? And the Prime Minister had a very good reason for saying so, right? Because typically when we talk about rivers, environment is the first thing that comes to mind, right? But he tried to bring in a slightly different angle. He tried to insert the economics into it, right? And the reason, which is pretty clear, and I'm sure you would all agree with me, that whenever there is an economic value attached to a natural resource, it's always a lot easier to take care of that resource, right? Because then that monetary value is attached, and it kind of enhances livelihoods around that resource, and which makes it a lot easier for people to take care of that resource. So I think it's with that perspective that he encouraged the country to look at this concept, which at NMCG, we are trying to proliferate and scale up, to the extent that is possible, right? So for today's panel, we're going to look at three very unique aspects. In fact, four very unique aspects of this Arth Ganga thing. Okay, so to begin with, we'll get a bit of understanding about the river and economy relationship, right? And then we have the Director General of the National Mission for Clean Ganga, Mr. G. Ashok Kumar. So he would be speaking a bit on that and kind of laying the stage, setting the stage to the whole context, right? We'll also look at a very interesting element in terms of the tourism, right? The tourism, the natural and the cultural heritage, which sometimes is an intangible economic value, but more or less, it's easy to quantify, and it kind of identifies very well with citizens. And for that, we have Mr. Manu Bhatnagar, who is the Principal Director of Natural Heritage Division at INTAC. And finally, we will also look at the angle of promoting sustainable agriculture and organic farming, right? So again, that's a very important element when we, because a lot of agriculture is dependent upon rivers, and a lot of it flourishes along river banks, right? So that would be a very interesting way to kind of, look at that sustainable agriculture and organic farming. And for that, we have with us Dr. Ved Priya. She's from Patanjali Institutes, right? And finally, I'm going to sum it up and bring in a fourth angle to it, which is more in terms of the planning, because ultimately most of the economy is in cities, right? And planning for cities, and how do actually cities go about enhancing the river related economy. And I'll give you practical examples from the work that we have done, right? So that's the kind of a narrative, and that's the kind of an agenda for today's panel discussion. And without any further ado, I would like to now invite Mr. Ashok Kumar to make his remarks on this topic. Sir, please.
Thank you, Victor. You had covered most of the points, so all I need to say is ditto. Everything has been sort of covered. See, most of the panelists, I hope, so the people in the audience, I hope would be able to connect with the Namami Gange. Namami Gange is one of the flagship programs of the Government of India, primarily aimed at cleaning and rejuvenating River Ganga. And River Ganga includes its tributaries also. So that means all the tributaries which form this mighty river of Ganga. Our mandate is to clean the river, rejuvenate the river, and see that the pristine glory of the Ganges is restored. For this program, Namami Gange was started in 2015. 14 in the budget session it was announced. In 2015 it was approved by the cabinet, and with very unique features. So NMCG, the implementing agency of this Namami Ganga, is a very unique animal with very distinct powers and roles assigned. It is a society, a body registered under the Societies Act, but later on made into an authority. So we are under the Environment Protection Act, empowered to give directions and cause to take action or to prevent anything happening in the river which can alter the chemical, biological or physical attribute of the river. Which means that anything in and around the Ganga river and the tributaries will fall into our responsibility. Not only this, the river per se, but what comes into the river is also a part of us. So one of the major sources of pollution is the sewage, all of you know, which is flowing uninterruptedly from the 97 towns on the basin of the main stem river. And of course, one of the major tributaries of Ganga is the Yamuna, where we are here in Delhi, which is situated on the banks of Yamuna. So many of you would not have seen Yamuna flowing most of the time, because Yamuna is a dark river, like Kalindi. It is a dark river, and it generally doesn't flow except when there is heavy monsoon rains. So what fills it up is generally the sewage, etc., and the dark, dirty water from the industrial effluent which comes there. So we are mandated to look into those areas. So in the last 5-6 years, Namami Ganga had been doing a lot of work. Some of them had been slightly slow to take off, but then we have really taken off. We are off the ground. Almost 30,000 crore worth project has been done in Namami Ganga, various aspects, which includes prevention of sewage from getting into the river, prevention of effluents from the industries getting into the river, preventing solid waste materials from the cities and the neighboring towns getting into the river. In that process, we also were mandated to look at the biodiversity, the famous dolphin of the Ganges, which happens to be the national aquatic animal of the country. its protection is also our responsibility. We have been doing a lot to protect the biodiversity, the dolphins, the otters, the other important gharials, etc. We also looked at the hilsa fishes and fishes which used to be plenty in the river, in this river Ganges. We also took up responsibility for the rejuvenation of the smaller rivers which forms the slightly bigger rivers, which becomes the next order rivers and then joins the Yamuna. So river protection, rejuvenation was also part of our duty. We also have done a lot of tree plantation for that. So apart from these river-related activities, we also had taken up a lot of awareness building, etc., etc., etc. And a lot of technology evaluation was done. New ways of cleaning water was taken up. Along with that, we also have taken up development of ghats, development of crematorium, development of areas which can really beautify the place as well as make the river people connect. So these are all the mostly the engineering aspect, the brick and mortar and the cement structures which I talked about. But more than that, to sustain it, what we require is the river people connect, and that's where the Arth Ganga come in. So Namami Ganga is a brand which looks at the whole cleaning process of the river and the tributaries. And some good news for you is that in Yamuna in Delhi we are tackling. We are almost given to the Delhi government because they are the implementing agency first. Money is ours. We had given more than 3,000 crores to look at the cleaning of the Yamuna. And in the next probably 8 months or 9 months, probably we hope to see a much cleaner Yamuna, probably a Yamuna which you have probably never seen before. At least your generation, our generation has not seen before. We already, in the month of March, first week of March this month, we inaugurated the first major the STP, that's about the Coronation Pillar STP, which blocks about 32 crores of sewage from getting into the river. So 318 million liters per day sewage is getting treated, and good water, as per the bathing water standards, is now flowing into the Yamuna River. We also plan to have the other three major STPs, the Ritala one, and that's about maybe 45 MGD. Other one is the Kondli, and the biggest one in Asia, the Okla one, about 564 MLD. All MLD STP plan will be coming up. So all these things we are planned to complete by the end of probably December, and probably if I can say so, we hope to see by December and tap all the drains which fall into the Yamuna River, and see that they are those treated water, the dirty water are taken to an STP and cleaned up and then flown to the river. So as I said, apart from this making this cement mortar and conduit connect, we also would like to have people connect with the river. For sustenance, we require people connect. That's where the Arth Ganga comes in, and that's what Mr. Victor told about PM's idea of linking people and river through the bridge of economics. Because India, we already says, "Hamara kya fayda hai?" That's our whole attitude. "Mere ko kya milta hai isme se?" So when you say "Mere ko kya milta hai," water, तो it's a tragedy of commons. Nobody bothers about a common property resource. But agar humko kuch milta hai, then yes, we'll do something about it. That's where, very rightly, PM said that let us connect people with the river, and so that they also get something out of the river. But then again, there are activists who say Ganga maa hai, maa se kamai nahi ho sakta hai. We are not trying to say maa se kamai hoga. We are telling that this connect will be a symbiotic relationship between the river and the Mother Ganga, and we will take care of the good flow of water in the river as well as good quality water flow in the river. And along with that, we also try to give some benefit to the people. So what are the visible, possible, low-hanging fruits and that can make a lot of impact? So first one, one of the verticals. Arth Ganga, we had come out with a good tagline, banking on the river. Basically, we are trying to bank the earth. That's the economic part of it. And Hindi में बोलते हैं कि बढ़ती जिंदगी, बढ़ती नदी, बढ़ती जिंदगानी. So the one of the vertical, the most important vertical in the sector is the natural farming. Here we have identified, or we are in the process of identifying farmers on 10 kilometers either side of the main stem river. So other rivers will come later on. Main stem river, and push them for natural farming. Why natural farming? Because it has twin advantages. It will increase reduce the burden of chemical fertilizers coming onto the river. If you use chemical fertilizers in the field around river, when rain comes, it gets mixed up in the water and comes rushing into the river Ganga, and then it can pollute the river. These are non-pointed point source of pollution. So we looked at trying to convert the farmers in the basin of rivers to look at for natural farming. And I also tell there is other advantage we tend to get out of it, because in the process of cleaning the STPs, the treated water, we generate a lot of sludge. So as per the statistics, we generate about 2,500 metric tons of sludge every day. It's a huge volume of material, and we don't know how to dispose it of. So normally, what is the typical Indian way of doing it? Push it to the neighbor. Push it to the neighbor's ikotia, and they will take care of it. They will do it, push it to the neighbor's ikotia. That's what normal tendency. But there's a time limit we can do that. We had been doing that. All municipalities had been doing that. They were dumping all their sewage, all their dirt, solid waste, liquid waste into the river, hoping that will go to the next river downstream. But they also forgot that there's a city above them, which also does the same thing. So that dirt also comes down. So in this process, we now thought that since the sewage is being treated, all the 164 STPs which we are now being built there, a lot of good treated water is generated, and also a lot of sludge is generated. And the sludge, as I said, is a big problem for storing. So one major initiative as part of the Arth Ganga is to convert the sludge into a useful product. And since there's a lot of nitrogen, phosphorus, etc. are there in that sludge, our natural thought was to go for natural manufacturing of natural manure. So either as a soil conditioner or as a manure, if this can be used, that can also end the problem of finding a place to store the sludge, as well as help the farmers to go for the natural farming. So in this process, we are killing two birds with one stone. We will eliminate the problem of sludge storage and also give the farmers the natural farming materials to manure to increase their productivity. So that's one thing about it. So we have our team from Patanjali who did some research on that and will share their views on that. I'll take 2 more minutes. And the second one is the treated water, which can be given to the farmers for irrigation. This water would have some nitrogen and phosphorus extra, which is useful for the NPK, because our farmers put a lot of NPK. Nitrogen and phosphorus is available in this water. It's a fortified water. That will help us in saving a lot of water, which is otherwise drawn from the river for irrigation purposes. So 80% of the water we use in our daily use for drinking and other toilet purposes is come back as sewage. So if this 80% can be treated and given back to the irrigation facility, we will be saving that much of water which we have otherwise would have taken from the main river source. That will help us in saving the water and let it flow through the river. So instead of a dry river, we may find a continuously flowing river, which in Hindi we call as Abral Thara. So the third point is, this is the natural farming part of it. We are looking at monetization of sludge and monetization of water, the treated water. Third important aspect is livelihood. How to create livelihood. Here, this issue is of getting people connected to river for a livelihood issue. The simplest thing is tourism is the most obvious solution because that doesn't require much skill. We need to get attached to the people and the history of that. And we have a lot of history and mythology on the Ganga banks. We have Mahabharata, we have Ramayana stories all over the place. We have Indian freedom struggle, we have Nalanda, we have all sort of forts. We have the Mangal Pandey's Meerut. So history, first war of independence, second of the Indian war of Indian movement of independence, all are on the banks of the river. So we can use them to generate a little bit of local tourism. And also the ghats which we have developed can be used as a center for launching of river boat tourism also, and also as a place for a market. So we call it as ghat mein hut. We try to have a weekly market where the natural produce of the farmers can be sold. So that's one aspect of it. So the third one was, as I said, livelihood. And fourth one is tourism, which I mentioned. Tourism, a lot of potential can be exploited, which Mr. Manu Madnagar will tell. And the last 2 points are the institution building, because we are now supporting this movement with the people. And if people find some benefit out of it, they may come and join us in our movement, and also take care of the responsibility of the maintenance of it. That's where the sustenance part of it came. So we look at an Arth Ganga institution building, capacity building of the officers and the people who are on the Ganga banks and who will manage this ecosystem there. And so institution development and capacity building of these people there would also part of the Arth Ganga. And these are the 6 pillars which we are looking at Arth Ganga. And the last point is about institution building. We have district Ganga committees which are not meeting now. We are telling that they should be mandated monthly monitored meeting, and see that they report to us every month, so that sort of a camaraderie is built up in and around the thing. Thanks a lot. So I took about 13-14 minutes. I thought that will give the foundation of what we are looking at, this Namami Ganga, the Arth Ganga, the new elephant in the room for the Namami Ganga. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I think thank you for giving us a bit of an overview of the thrust areas. So, and like Ashok sir pointed out, under the Namami Ganga mission, so there are these 6 thrust areas: monetizing wastewater, monetizing the sludge generated during the waste treatment, development of ghats and spots, water spots, markets. There's tourism, along the river banks, and then finally, of course, institutional building and capacity building, right? So these are the pretty much the larger thrust areas under the Arth Ganga initiative taken here. Thank you very much, Ashok sir. I'd now like to move on to to Dr. Ved Priya, from the Patanjali Institute, and ma'am, the floor is yours. Please tell us about the promotion of sustainable agriculture, natural and organic farming, please.
थैंक यू सो मच एंड आई एम मच डिलाइटेड. बहुत अच्छा डिस्कशन हो रहा है, और इसके साथ साथ थोड़ी सी फाइंडिंग्स भी आपसे डिस्कस करूंगी. अच्छा लगेगा आपसे इस विषय में डिस्कस करके. और जैसे डीजी सर ने पूरा का पूरा लेआउट दे दिया है कि अर्थ गंगा के तहत क्या क्या होना चाहिए, तो उसी के संदर्भ में कुछ पॉइंट्स पे मैं बात करना चाहूँगी आज आपसे. और मैं चाहूँगी कि ऑडियंस भी इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करे, क्योंकि फ्रूटफुल डिस्कशन सर वही होता है जब सभी की तरफ से कुछ फीडबैक्स भी इसमें आए. तो सबसे पहले जब हम माँ गंगा की बात करते हैं तो वी आर वर्किंग फॉर, अगर मोटे तौर पे देखें तो वी आर टेकिंग केयर ऑफ 4 मेजर पिलर्स, और यू कैन से 4 मेजर वर्टिकल्स. दैट इज़ फार्मर्स, जो कि जैसे डीजी सर ने बोला कि 10 किलोमीटर के आसपास के एरिया में कौन कौन से फार्मर्स हैं, उनको प्रमोट किया जाए ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग या नेचुरल फार्मिंग की ओर. ये एक बहुत बड़ा प्रयास है. इसी प्रकार से यदि हम फॉरेस्ट की बात करें, हम फॉरेस्ट को इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते, बिकॉज ई फ्लो मेंटेन करने के लिए फॉरेस्ट भी रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं और इकोसिस्टम को एक सस्टेनेबल लेवल पर मेंटेन करने के लिए भी फॉरेस्ट रिस्पॉन्सिबल है। थर्ड हमारा जो पॉइंट है वो है टाउन, हमारा शहर, जिसको हम सीवेज के लेवल पे देख सकते हैं, दैट इज़ द स्लज ट्रीटमेंट, उसका इफेक्टिव स्लज मैनेजमेंट, उसके विषय पर हमें ज़रूर बात करनी चाहिए। और फोर्थ अगर हम बात करें वो ई फ्लो या वाटर की बात है, और इसके लिए मैं सबसे पहले कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट करूँगी हमारी मिनिस्ट्री को, हमारे एनएमसीजी की एंथुजियास्टिक टीम को, जिन्होंने पिछले गत वर्षों में जो कार्य किया है वो दिख रहा है। आप जब पीपीएम की बात करते हैं, आप वाटर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स देखिए, पता चलेगा, ये डेटा बताता है, ये रिसर्च बताती है कि वाटर क्वालिटी अगर हम पिछले डेकेड्स की बात करें तो कॉन्टिन्यूसली जो है वो इम्प्रूवमेंट की ओर है। नाउ कमिंग बैक टू द फर्स्ट पॉइंट, मैं सबसे पहले फार्मर्स के ऊपर बात करना चाहूँगी। फार्मर्स की जब बात करते हैं तो व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द फार्मर रजिस्ट्री, या किस खसरे में किस पर्टिकुलर लैंड होल्डिंग पर किस फार्मर का आज के समय पर लैंड होल्डिंग स्टेटस है, तो आज हमें वो क्लियर स्थिति नहीं है। वी हैव टू वर्क ऑन दैट। सेकेंड इज द सॉइल टेस्टिंग। देखिए, ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग, नेचुरल फार्मिंग की हम बात करते हैं, क्योंकि हमारे मॉडरेटर सर ने मुझे स्पेशली बोला है कि मुझे ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग पे बात करनी है, तो मैं इस बारे में एक अनुरोध करना चाहूँगी। आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर सम ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस। लाइक ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग इज़ नॉट एज सच कि आप ऑर्गेनिक फर्टिलाइज़र लीजिए और उठाकर डाल दीजिए, दिस इज़ ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग। यू शुड नो, फर्स्ट यू शुड नो द सॉइल कंडीशन। वी हैव द सॉइल हेल्थ कार्ड स्टेटस, बट फिर भी अगर हम बात करें कि खसरा टू खसरा देर आर वेरिएशन। अगर दो फील्ड की बात करते हैं, अगर हम क्योंकि हमारी टीम ने इस पे खूब काम किया है, लगभग 4 डिस्ट्रिक्ट हमने पूरे देश की उस पर कार्य किया है, वी हैव फाउंड दैट एक खसरे से दूसरे खसरे के अंदर देयर इज डिफरेंस इन द न्यूट्रिशन क्वालिटी। सो फर्स्ट आई हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, अगर मैं फार्मर हूँ, आई हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट वेदर देयर इज मल्टीपल अमाउंट ऑफ न्यूट्रिशन, नाइट्रोजन कहीं ऑलरेडी इतना ज़्यादा हो और मैं उठाकर, क्योंकि मैं ऑर्गेनिक ग्रो करना चाहती हूँ और मैं ऑर्गेनिक वहाँ पर डाल दूँ, तो ये हमारा मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग हो जाएगा। फर्स्ट फार्मर शुड नो द सॉइल कंडीशन, उसके खसरे की, उसकी लैंड होल्डिंग की कंडीशन उसको पता होनी चाहिए। सेकेंड पॉइंट आता है, क्योंकि देखिए जो भी बड़े लेवल पे इम्प्लीमेंटेशन होता है तो उसके लिए हम लोगों को कहीं ना कहीं मैन पावर पे डिपेंडेंट होना पड़ता है। ऑब्वियसली सॉइल सैंपल्स जो है वो किसी पर्सन को भेजना पड़ेगा, वो जाकर सॉइल सैंपल कैप्चर करेगा और उसके बाद उसको लेबोरेटरी में टेस्ट करेगा। देयर में भी सम एरर्स, तो वो भी हमें जियो कोऑर्डिनेट से वहाँ पर फैच करना चाहिए, सो दैट हम इंश्योर कर सके कि हमने इसी पर्टिकुलर खसरे से वो सॉइल सैंपल फैच किए। सेकेंड, इसमें मैं आपसे अनुरोध करना चाहूँगी, ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग के लिए किसी फार्मर को कन्विंस करना एक बहुत बड़ा टास्क है। उसके कन्विंस करने के लिए केवल और केवल पब्लिक अवेयरनेस या फिर कैंपेन करने से कुछ बात नहीं बनेगी। वी हैव टू मूव, हमें एक मिशन की तरह कार्य करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि पतंजलि फार्मर समृद्धि प्रोग्राम के तहत हमने 19 प्रदेशों के अंदर लगभग 40,000 फार्मर्स को ट्रेन किया है मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ स्किल डेवलपमेंट की तहत। तो हम एक्सपीरियंस से ये बात बोल सकते हैं कि किसी भी फार्मर को ऑर्गेनिक की तरफ या नेचुरल फार्मिंग की तरफ मूव कराना एक बहुत बड़ा टास्क है। वो जल्दी से कन्विंस नहीं होता है, क्योंकि ऑर्गेनिक जब कृषि करते हैं तो पहले और दूसरे साल में तो उपज बहुत कम आती है, देयर इज़ वेरी लो क्रॉप यील्ड, सो देयर आर सेवरल अदर काइंड ऑफ पर्सपेक्टिव्स ऑल्सो ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग और नेचुरल फार्मिंग को प्रमोट करने के लिए। तो पब्लिक अवेयरनेस के संदर्भ में, जैसे कि एक मैं छोटा सा उदाहरण आपके सामने बात करूं, एक जैसे सांप सीढ़ी होती है, उसके ज़रिए हमने एक जैविक सांप सीढ़ी बनाई है, ऑर्गेनिक सांप सीढ़ी, जिसके ज़रिए हम खिलाते हैं फार्मर्स को और उसको बताते हैं यदि आपने गलत किया तो सांप आपको काट लेगा। तो क्या होता है, धीरे धीरे उसकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप होती है और वो ऑर्गेनिक कृषि की ओर मूव कर रहा है। हमारा रिसर्च ये कहता है कि इस प्रकार से पब्लिक अवेयरनेस जनरेट करने से हम लोगों ने 30 to 40%, जिन स्टेट्स में हमने काम किया उन स्टेट्स में हमने इतने फार्मर्स को एनकरेज किया और वो मूव करे ऑर्गेनिक कृषि की ओर। इसके साथ साथ अगर हम 19 जो मैंने आपको बताया कि 18 स्टेट्स के अंदर हमने कार्य किया, जिनको ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग के लिए प्रैक्टिसेस दी गई थी वो आज भी ऑर्गेनिक कृषि कर रहे हैं और वो एसोसिएटेड हैं। इसलिए मेरा अनुरोध रहेगा कि लिवलीहुड जनरेशन के लिए दूसरा पर्सपेक्टिव आता है हमारा एग्री बिजनेस का। ऑर्गेनिक कृषि तो फार्मर ने कर ली, लेकिन उसके बाद क्या होगा जब उसको एग्री बिजनेस नहीं मिलेगा? ऑर्गेनिक प्रोड्यूस को वो मार्केट कैसे करे? हमारे देश का दुर्भाग्य कहेंगे इसको कि हमारे देश में 23% जो कृषि है वो ऑर्गेनिक कृषि होती है बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट, लेकिन केवल 3% को ही ऑर्गेनिक सर्टिफिकेशन उपलब्ध है। ये एक बहुत बड़ा तथ्य है। आपको जानकारी के लिए बताऊं कि WHO ने, उसके अलावा USDA ने भी इन दो मुद्दों को भारत के संदर्भ में उठाया है। तो क्यों केवल 3% को ही हमने ऑर्गेनिक कृषि के साथ जोड़ा हुआ है? हम बाकियों को मुख्य धारा में क्यों नहीं ला पा रहे हैं? क्यों हम अपनी सर्टिफिकेशन प्रोसेस को थोड़ा सा इजी बनाएं और इस पे हम कार्य करें? तो इस पे भी हमें कार्य करने की आवश्यकता है और उसके साथ साथ हम लिवलीहुड अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ भी फार्मर्स को प्रोवाइड करें, ये इंश्योर करें कि उसका जो भी प्रोड्यूस है, जो ऑर्गेनिक प्रोड्यूस है, वो उसका मार्केट में उतना बिक भी सके। सेकंड में पॉइंट पर जो डीजी साहब ने निर्देश किया कि टाउन के अंदर अगर हम स्लज मैनेजमेंट की बात करते हैं तो मैं बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग फाइंडिंग आपसे शेयर करना चाहूँगी। पतंजलि ऑर्गेनिक रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट के साथ हम लोग ऑलरेडी पिछले कई सालों से ऑर्गेनिक फर्टिलाइज़र बना रहे हैं, लेकिन हम सिटी कंपोस्ट से बनाते हैं। वो हमारा एक प्रकार के प्रोडक्ट की रेंज है जो कि चलती ही है, हम बनाते ही हैं, जिसमें कि जैविक प्रोम आता है, जैविक खाद आता है और जैविक पोटाश आता है। आपकी जानकारी के लिए बता दूं, एक छोटे से एक्सपेरिमेंट के तहत, क्योंकि जब NMCG की टीम हमने देखा बहुत एंथुजियास्टिक वे में लगी हुई है कि स्लज को कैसे मैनेज करें। जैसे डेटा बताया सर ने कि इतना सारा स्लज जो है वो डेली बेसिस पर प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है, तो कैसे मैनेजमेंट किया जाए? तो हम लोगों ने हरिद्वार के STP से स्लज को अपने प्लांट में हम लेकर गए, हमने उसको प्रोसेस किया, हमने उसको फोर्टिफाइड किया एंड आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर सम इम्पोर्टेंट फाइंडिंग्स कि उसमें ऑर्गेनिक कार्बन का जो कंटेंट था, ऑर्गेनिक कंटेंट जो था वो ज़्यादा था एज़ कम्पेयर टू द सिटी कंपोस्ट। नाइट्रोजन कंटेंट ज़्यादा था एज़ कम्पेयर टू द जो प्रोडक्ट्स हमारे सिटी कंपोस्ट से बनते थे। सेकेंडली, जो कि बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग फाइंडिंग है, हमारे माइक्रोबायोलॉजिस्ट और हमारी जो माइक्रोबायोलॉजी की लैब्स हैं उनकी फाइंडिंग से कहती हैं कि जो गुड फार्मिंग माइक्रोब्स हैं, जो कि गुड फार्मिंग प्रैक्टिसेस को एनहांस करते हैं, वो उस गंगा बेसिन की स्लज में ज़्यादा मिले एज़ कम्पेयर टू द सिटी कंपोस्ट। ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट फाइंडिंग है। और क्योंकि मैं आपकी जानकारी के लिए बता दूं, चाहे पूज्य आचार्य श्री हुए, चाहे पूज्य स्वामी जी हुए, पहले वो अपने खेतों में डाल के देखते हैं कि क्या इससे पैदावार बढ़ी, क्या इससे क्या इफेक्ट हुआ। तो आपकी जानकारी के लिए बताऊं कि हमारे खुद के खेतों में हम लोगों ने एक्सपेरिमेंट किया कि वो जो हमारी कंपोस्ट, सिटी कंपोस्ट से तैयार हुए प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, उनसे कितने बेहतर हैं। एंड वी आर आज मैंने कमिट भी किया है कि हम एक पूरा कंसेप्ट नोट बनाकर NMCG ऑफिस में इसको देंगे, क्योंकि ये बात, और इस पे हम एक पेपर भी लिखने का प्रयास करेंगे क्योंकि ये बात देश तक, दुनिया तक पहुंचनी चाहिए। स्लज का इस प्रकार से मैनेजमेंट होना चाहिए। आज कोई प्रेजेंटेशन का यहाँ पर नहीं था, नहीं तो मैं आपको दिखाती कि उस स्लज से किस प्रकार के छोटे छोटे ग्रेन्यूल्स विच आर इजी टू कैरी बाय द फार्मर्स। सो दिस इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट। एंड मैं इसमें एक बात और ऐड करना चाहूँगी, वी वुड लाइक टू शेयर द प्रोसेस ऑल्सो। क्यों हम गंगा की ही बात करें, हम यमुना की भी बात करें, हम बाकी नदियों की भी बात करें, और हम अपने देश के अंदर एक मुहिम की तरह इस चीज़ को आगे लेकर जाएं। हम इसको स्लज तो हर जगह होता है, उस स्लज मैनेजमेंट की को कैसे मैनेज किया जा सकता है, एक मिशन की तरह इस पर कार्य करें और अपने देश को और स्वस्थ बनाने की तरफ, स्वच्छ बनाने की तरफ आगे लेके जाएं। और लास्ट में हमारा वाटर आता है। वाटर क्वालिटी के लिए जैसे मैंने आपको बताया ही है कि एफॉरेस्टेशन भी उसमें ज़्यादा बड़ा रोल प्ले करता है। आखिर में अपनी बात को ख़त्म करूंगी कल्चरल हेरिटेज से। जैसे कि सर ने बताया कि घाट पर हाट बहुत अच्छा कॉन्सेप्ट है, बहुत इनोवेटिव कॉन्सेप्ट है, और केवल एक के लिए नहीं, ये बहुतों के लिए है। वहाँ से हम विमेन एम्पावरमेंट कर सकते हैं, वहाँ से हम उन छिपे हुए आर्टिसंस को, आज मैंने देखा यहाँ की बुकलेट जो लॉन्च हुई है कि उसके अंदर MSME भी इन्वॉल्व है, उसमें जल शक्ति मंत्रालय भी इन्वॉल्व है। तो मैं आग्रह करूँगी सभी से कि MSME के अंदर भी आर्टिसंस हैं, ट्राइबल के अंदर भी आर्टिसंस हैं, सबको एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर लेके आया जाए। गंगा के आसपास कहें या फिर अगर हम किसी भी नदी के आसपास कहें, जो लोग उसके आसपास हैं उनकी लिवलीहुड को बढ़ाया जाए, उनके टैलेंट को निखारा जाए, और उसके लिए गंगा हाट एक अच्छा माध्यम हो सकता है। इसी के साथ साथ मैं धन्यवाद करूंगी सभी ऑर्गेनाइजर्स का, आप सब ऑडियंस का, क्योंकि डिस्कशन यदि होती है तो कोई ना कोई फ्रूटफुल कुछ वे आउटवर्ड निकल के आता है, और इसी होप के साथ आप सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, शुक्रिया।
Thank you very much, Dr. Ved Priya, for giving us, the finer nuances of organic farming. Especially I really like the part where you were talking about the capacity building of almost 40,000 farmers, right? Convincing them, to go for organic farming, especially for the first 2 years because the yield is not that high, right? So I think these are very practical things that that need to be accounted for whenever we talk about concepts of these sort, right? Thank you very much once again. Let's now move on to Mr. Manu Bhatnagar. And sir, the floor is yours. Please tell us a little bit about the tourism, cultural and natural heritage linkage with the Arth Ganga. Please, sir.
Thank you, Victor. Good afternoon, everyone. We have started working with NMCG about 4 years ago. What I may say is that NMCG started, it's actually an extension of earlier programs, but has got crystallized into a mission mode. The approach was to start with focused upon pollution abatement in the river. But from there on, the approach began to broaden and taking input from so many parties, from so many experts, the approach broadened into addressing issues of flows, into looking at the river as a basin management approach, looking at tributaries, groundwater, wetlands, and so on. And to this was also added that in the case of the Ganga is not just a flowing stream of water, it is also a cultural stream. More than any other river. You can have, what is a river? A river is a flowing stream of water flowing along a particular course from uplands, from mountains to the sea, or confluencing as a tributary with some larger river. But in the case of the Ganga, it is not only all of this, the hydrological aspects of the river, but it is a cultural stream. We all know that our rituals from birth to death, they are all associated with the Ganga. And it is part and parcel of our civilizational aspect. Now, the NMCG decided to take up a project to document the cultural aspects, the heritage aspects of the river. And so the project which we are carrying out, which will be concluded by the middle of this year, it looked at a corridor of 5 kilometers on either bank of the river, of the main stem of the river. And in this, we had to document all the architectural heritage, the cultural heritage, and the natural heritage. Now, we have already, completed out of 51 districts, we have completed our work on 40 plus districts. And a lot of data, immense amounts of information has come out. Everybody is aware of, major festivals, Kumbh Mela, the Ganga Sagar Kumbh, and so on. We are aware of some very major aspects, no doubt. But there's so much more which is there along the river. And as we are moving into the final phases of the study, we find that the work very easily feeds into the Arth Ganga concept. That is, that it can, the information which has been culled out can be converted into economic products or revenue streams. And it is, of course, all this will take a lot of work because there is no such thing as low hanging fruits in this. Every idea will require a lot of sustained hand holding before it becomes viable, and that is so with every new idea. Now if I look at some of the aspects of culture, so we find that in every place along the river, in almost every district, there are wonderful crafts. Okay, now some of them have been taken up under one district, one product scheme, but many of them have not been taken up, or if they have been, they have not been either modernized, to meet the current market requirements, or they have not been marketed properly. I'll give you one example, that is the perfumery of Kannauj. Kannauj is a producer of perfume, and this perfume can easily outbeat all the chemical perfumes in the Western world. But the kind of bottles we have, the the marketing aspect, the presentation aspect, these are not addressed properly so far. Otherwise, this can be a booming industry. If I look at the produce along the Ganga, I find there are several districts. Only just yesterday, my team reported from Fatehpur, and there are such places in Bihar also. There are several species of bananas. Now we have mango festivals, we have festivals of other fruit. Why not banana? There are so many species. The locals have traditions of how they use these, seasonal bananas which come out in different seasons. We have so many. We have heard of these huge animal fairs. This big. There's this. Sonpur Mela. But when we went to the villages, in many places you find that, of course, not at the scale of Sonpur, but there are so many other cattle fairs which are taking place. A lot of exchange is taking place. Like in Pushkar, you have the camel fair. Now, the people to whom we might be catering to in by way of tourism aspects, they would like to see these things. They want to experience. Today, it is not just about seeing something and okay, fine, and hearing a story about it. People want to feel things. You have things like homestays. You have things like eating the local cuisine. You want to see how it is prepared. You want to move into the fields, pick the produce yourself. This is what tourism is coming towards. Now, in architecture, again, there is so much of material which is not been made visible so far. Just yesterday, again, the team reported from Fatehpur. Now, Fatehpur is not a district which is very prominent. There are so many temple complexes, 400 years old, 500 years old, lying completely neglected. Nobody has seen them. Okay. So, these are things which, if they are brought onto the tourism map, they would infuse immense amount of finances into local economies. Okay, and that would of course set off a chain of transition in the living standards in those areas. We have these series of forts. If you start from Bay of Bengal, you have got Fort William. You move further up, you have got Murshidabad, you have got Munger, you have got you come to Allahabad, that is Prayagraj, and so on. So you have Buxar in between. Now Buxar fort is collapsing into the river. ASI, that is Archaeological Survey of India, is in charge. But, well, the fort is collapsing into the river. If we keep our eyes closed, then another 2-3 years later, the Buxar fort will be found only on the bed of the river. Now, all these places, they are, Chunar Fort, for example. Chunar Fort has the bungalow of Warren Hastings in it. From there, you get a fantastic view of the Ganga, which takes me to another point, that is that there are so many lovely landscapes of the river, places where you can simply enjoy the scenic view. Again, all of these feed into the tourism aspect. Coming back to the forts can become they can become places of stay, like you have heritage hotels. Now that way they can bring in a lot of revenue to the local economy. We can have circuits for 1857, and in this year, that is Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the year 1857 is a very significant year. Now we found several places. Meerut is of course well known, but if we go down in Balia, you find the house of Mangal Pandey is there, and there are several places like Barrackpore, etc., which are associated with 1857. So if we like, we can have a 1857 circuit. We can have a Mahabharat circuit all the way from Uttarakhand, going further down into UP. You have places like Farrukhabad, where which are associated with Draupadi, and there are other places associated with Bhimgoda, of course you know, but then there are other places too. Many places you can have a Ramayan circuit, because there are several places which are associated with Bhagwan Ram. Okay. At Prayagraj, you also have the world's perhaps most ancient water harvesting site, the site of Shringaverapura, 1st century BC. Okay. It's a World Heritage Site in my view, but well, there's a board which says, protected by ASI. People go to Allahabad, they may go to the fort, they may go to Anand Bhavan, they'll of course go to Sangam, but there is so much more which is, completely neglected. In tourism, the stress is always how many days does a tourist spend in a particular place. And if you can increase the length of that stay, for which you need more and more attractions, then the tourist pours in more money into the local economy. So there are things like this. If we promote, riverine tourism, that is boat-based tourism, there are so many people who are making boats along the river. And in different places we found that the size of the boats, the shape of the boats, they are suited to the, local conditions. For example, as you move further down the river, when you in the Hooghly stretch, the Hooghly is very broad. It has also got a lot of depth, and therefore you find that the boats are much bigger. They can carry many more passengers at the same time. And as you come further upstream, the size of the boats begin to decrease because the depth of the river is shallower, and so on. So boat making would be another industry which can be taken up on a larger scale as we promote boat-based tourism. And all these things, they can be designed much better, because right now if you see the boats, how are they made? They are made very crudely. Like you see the three-wheeler autos over here, metal pipe like this, another metal pipe like this welded over here. Yeah, it's a contraption. We need a design. Okay. So there are a lot of improvements which can be made in all these sectors. We have got riverine grasses, many saccharum grasses growing along the banks and along the islands in the river. And these grasses, they are used by the locals for roofing and making brooms, for rope making and many other products. Yeah. Okay. So, and if we bring in, say, organization like the National Institute of Design, they can make many more products out of this. It's a renewable biomass. So this is what we should actually be exploiting, rather than, if we keep on digging out things from the soil, it is all exhaustible. This is almost inexhaustible. So we are looking at these kind of aspects. There is the river itself is like a river, water zoo. Everybody talks about dolphins, but there are turtles, there is also the river shark. Okay, so you can see many things. Okay, if you want to use the river as a
So we are running a little out of time, sir. So if you can just
Okay.
please, yeah.
Fine. So I'll close.
Yes.
We can have things like floating market, floating vegetable markets, uh, and there are so many floodplain lakes. Some of them 16 kilometers long. They're wonderful, ecotourism spot for birding, for yachting or whatever. So I think all of these, if they are pushed, and it requires a lot of hand-holding to push this into play, but I'm sure we can actually build around the water stream, we can revive the cultural stream and also add on the economic stream. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. In fact, you gave us, such a huge range of options, when it comes to leveraging on the culture and heritage of a place, right? And I think one thing was very clear from your talk that, you kind of don't need all these fancy promenades, and these, heavy duty structures on, on the banks of rivers, right? We kind of, it's good to go local, focus on the local wisdom, on the local culture, local history, in order to kind of enhance that economic connect with the river, right? So thank you very much, sir, for that for your wonderful insights on that topic. We are kind of out of time, but I think we'll still take at least a couple of questions if anybody has. Yes, please. Is there a mic that somebody can get him, or does it work that way? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, just hang on. Yeah. And please also direct your question to the speaker that you would like to. Yeah, the first one, please. Yeah.
Thank you, myself, Sunil Kumar Shinde from Mumbai and Solapur. Ma'am has covered the major point here, that is the why Ganga only. Okay, absolutely. We have say lots of river in India, and parallelly, it is time-consuming job specifically. If a part of say project has been implemented in Ganga, simultaneously the same has been implemented across the India, because every river say it meets to sea. हर एक रिवर वहाँ पे मिलता है, तो that is the only point I'm taking here.
बिल्कुल, absolutely. In fact, Ashok sir, yeah, if you
it is
could.
being done. So see, we were focusing on Yamuna Ganga because Ganga had a little bit of more cultural connect, and then 60% of the 40% of India's population is on the banks of this Ganga river. So now we are also moving to other rivers. In fact, I'm also heading that project, National River Conservation Directorate is there, where we are trying to implement the lessons learned from Ganga. So we are already done a lot of work in about 34 projects in about 17 states. We are also doing that.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I see one hand at the back there. Please.
Hi, this is Misha. Have been following a lot of work done by Ashok sir earlier under the Catch the Rain campaign and now under Namami Ganga. And very interesting points by Manu Bhatnagar sir on the Ramayana and Mahabharata circuits that can be created. You talked about a lot of adaptation related interventions related to sustainable farming and also focusing on water. I just wanted to understand, is there an umbrella strategy for adaptation under which these components fall? Thank you.
Yeah, actually, there's a lot of noise. We were not able to hear you very clearly.
Is there a climate adaptation strategy under which these various components are falling? Is there an overarching strategy for
climate
adaptation?
change adaptation. I think Ashok sir is the best to talk about this.
In the ministry, there are various wings handling this part. We are, the National Water Mission is also looking after the climate changes issues and that. So we are, Namami Ganga is generally not really looking into the climate change aspects of it, but then, as you rightly said, there's an overarching umbrella of climate resilience strategy formed by the National Water Mission and the other arms of the ministry. Yes. We are also looking at springshed management in a big way. The melting of glaciers, we are looking at it. All these things are also being addressed and learning a lot about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. If I can just add something to what Ashok sir said, you very correctly pointed out about climate change adaptation, and in the next few months or so, we're going to see a lot of action in that regard. The reason being that in COP26, the last COP that happened, in Glasgow, it was very, very clear. I think they made it very abundantly clear that the more we delay, the more narrow our choices become, right? We are already at a stage that where there's very little that we can do, right? So I think all nations, including India, would now be looking at climate change adaptation with greater priority, compared to mitigation was there in the past, right? So thank you very much for that question. I think maybe just one last question if anybody has. We are doing reasonably good for time. Okay, so we've been told that we have some more time. Yeah, please go ahead.
But we should have questions.
And please speak a little loudly if you can, because there's a lot of background noise here.
Why don't you come forward a bit?
Hi.
Yeah, this
Okay,
is
now
good.
it's working. Yeah. Actually, my question is to ma'am. Actually, the thing ma'am very rightly said that the requirement of like organic fertilizers, So, but I had been listening about the buzz that chemical fertilizers will be banned in the near future, and I just wanted to know. I mean, like, because everyone is more getting more. But there are no strict norms right now. I mean, like to that how soon the organic fertilizers will be roped in, and the chemical fertilizers will be banned. I mean, so I just wanted to ma'am to have just give us some clear picture of how soon we can expect organic fertilizers to be in the market. Only organic fertilizers in the
सबसे
market.
पहले तो बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन आपने पूछा और ये एक विषय के संदर्भ में नहीं है, बहुत विषयों को कवर करता है। डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर के साथ भी कुछ कार्य किया था हमने। आपको मैं बताऊं कि हमारे देश में ना बहुत सारे बैन पेस्टिसाइड्स भी हैं जो कि यूज़ किए जा रहे हैं। हमारे गवर्नमेंट भी उसको बैन कर चुकी है, लेकिन आप पेस्टिसाइड्स की शॉप पे जाओगे आपको मिल जाएंगे। क्या आपको इस बात की जानकारी है? तो केमिकल फर्टिलाइज़र की अवेयरनेस कितनी है वो आपको पता चल गया, लेकिन अवेयरनेस जनरेट करने का माध्यम कौन है? स्वयं किसान है। किसान को ये लगता है, देखिए एक और मैं आपको मज़ेदार बात बताती हूँ। एक देवेंद्र शर्मा जी हैं, बहुत बड़े नेशनल पॉलिसी एक्सपर्ट हुए हैं। उन्होंने एक बार कुछ फाइंडिंग शेयर करी कि हमारे देश में क्या करते हैं, यूरिया डालना है ना, तो किसी को अगर 2 किलो डालना है तो वो 2 किलो नहीं लेता, वो उठाकर 7-8 किलो डाल देता है। गवर्नमेंट की इंस्ट्रक्शन है 2 किलो डालना है उस खेत में लेकिन वो डाल रहे हैं 10 किलो। वो क्यों डाल रहे हैं? क्योंकि हमारी एक मेंटेलिटी हो गई है कि ज़्यादा डालने से हमारी पैदावार बढ़ जाएगी। बस हमें इसी चीज़ को ठीक करना है, और उसको ठीक करने के लिए मुझे पहले पता होनी चाहिए मेरे सॉइल की हेल्थ। मैं दवाई उतनी ही तो लूँगी ना जितनी मैं बीमार हूँ। अगर मुझे अपनी बीमारी ही नहीं पता, अपने अंदर कमी ही नहीं पता, तो मैं दवाई कैसे लूँगी? तो आप इस कॉन्सेप्ट को वैसे ही समझिए, हर व्यक्ति को, हर किसान को उसके खेत की जानकारी होनी ज़रूरी है। इसके लिए हमने एक डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर को भी धरती का डॉक्टर किट है, वो किसान उसका स्वयं डॉक्टर बन सकता है। एक धरती का डॉक्टर किट हमने वहाँ पर दी है। उसके जरिए क्या होता है, बहुत छोटे छोटे 5 मिनट के अंदर ही किसान स्वयं अपने सॉइल का टेस्ट करके यह जानकारी ले सकता है कि नाइट्रोजन की अधिकता है, फॉस्फोरस की है या ऑर्गेनिक कार्बन कितना है, उसको जानकारी मिलेगी। तत्पश्चात उसको कैलकुलेशन भी दी है। धरती का डॉक्टर ऐप और हरित क्रांति ऐप के जरिए एक कैलकुलेशन भी प्रोवाइड की गई है। और आपको मैं जानकारी के लिए बता दूं, हमारे देश में मिक्स्ड फार्मिंग प्रैक्टिसेस सबसे ज़्यादा फॉलो होती हैं एज कम्पेयर टू प्रॉपरली ऑर्गेनिक या केमिकल। अगर मैं कहूँ केवल केमिकल लोग करते हैं तो नहीं, हमारे देश में जर्नली मिक्स्ड फार्मिंग प्रैक्टिसेस का कंसेप्ट है। क्योंकि जिसके घर में गौ पालन होता है वो सोचता है कि गोबर की खाद भी वहाँ डाल दो। जिसको थोड़ा सा भी पता है किचन वेस्ट से खाद बनती है वो भी कहता है डाल दो। लेकिन वी आर यूजिंग मिक्स्ड प्रैक्टिसेस। तो इस ऐप के अंदर, हरित क्रांति एप्लीकेशन के अंदर, मिक्स्ड फार्मिंग के लिए भी क्या फर्टिलाइज़र रिकमेंडेशन है, कितना डालना चाहिए, वो भी वहाँ प्रोवाइड किया गया है। और ये अवेयरनेस कितनी अब जनरेट कर सकते हैं, ये हम युवाओं के ऊपर है कि हम इसको कितना और आगे प्रभावित कर सकते हैं.
Okay. Thank you very much, for that comment. Yeah.
फिलहाल I don't think there's any proposal of banning the chemical fertilizer. तो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता हो जाएंगे.
I just
ऐसा
have a
नहीं
follow-up question, ma'am. Is there any like single point window where I can get access to these kind of details, like for organic farming, all the components?
Yes, you can visit the site of PORI, Patanjali Organic Research Institute. You will find the several case studies, and I'm delighted to share the information. Like not only farmer income double, for certain crops it get tripled also in our findings in 19 states, and you can see the case histories in that particular site also. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, we'll take some more questions because we seem to have some time.
No, fine.
Is there anybody else? Perhaps any question for the cultural aspect for Mr. Manu Bhatnagar? Is there any question? Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, so my name is Rajesh. There is in the focus area there was mentioned the role of community participation and strengthening. I think that's a very critical aspect as well. How is the department, Ashok sir, if you could put it across, and obviously from the private sector as well, how the youth is being included in this program? Because I think youth involvement will be a critical aspect in the success of the entire. The government is doing their bit, but I think somebody has to own it. Like us, we have to own it to make it successful. So what is government doing it on towards it?
See, government is actually focusing on getting youth into this program. See, this has not started today. It has been going on for quite some time. So last year we had a big campaign called Catch the Rain, where it falls, when it falls करके campaign शुरू किया था. उसमें almost देश के पूरे जिले में जो नेहरू युवा केंद्र है, नेहरू युवा केंद्र उनके जो एसोसिएटेड यूथ क्लब्स है, सबको इन्वॉल्व किया था. And almost 200 they worked with all the district, all the elected representatives in various forms, whether in form of discussion, nukkad nataks, wall writings, wall paintings, debate competitions, quiz competitions, सब बना के ये awareness का काम किया था. So using the Nehru Yuva Kendra, and in fact in Namami Ganga also we are actually paying some money to these volunteers to help them. So not only that they are volunteering themselves, little bit of money is also being given to them. So that's one way of taking them. We are also conducting what is called as the Ganga Quest. There's a quiz which we are conducting, and last time in our Ganga Quiz, almost 1 million people participated.
Yeah.
So about 11 lakh people participated in that. So that is again trying to connect people with the river and the quest. So the people's participation, as you rightly said, is the most fundamental thing. So the third point in that is the district Ganga committees. So as I said before, the district Ganga committees has members from officialdom as well as the public. So Ganga Vichar Manch wala bhi hai, Ganga Praharis bhi hai, Ganga Doots bhi hai. So lot of people who are in the field, not having any official position, are also members of the district Ganga committee. And once we ensure that every month they meet on a fixed time, fixed point, they will also get to know what is happening, and also they will also be participating in the discussions as well, and then will also be spreading this message. So participation of people is the most important aspect of Arth Ganga. And using this platform of district Ganga committees, we want to spread the information among the people, and we are also using Nehru Yuva Kendra and other IEC activities to get it along. So I hope that that answers your question.
So in continuation to that only, हम क्या स्कूलों के बच्चों के साथ भी मिलकर कुछ कर रहे हैं कि हमारी नदियों की क्या मान्यता है, सॉइल प्रोटेक्शन को लेके, सॉइल कंजर्वेशन को लेके, उसके बारे में कोई जागरूकता पैदा करने की तरफ कुछ कार्यक्रम है?
That's what ये स्कूल के माध्यम से the first thing I said was about the Ganga Quest. तो Ganga Quest अभी शुरू ओपन होने वाला है. So everybody we are actually writing to the schools for bulk registration in that. That's one aspect of it. We are also tied up with the Rotary Club because they have this WASH program, because they also have a big network of organizations all over the basin. So we have MOU with the Rotary Club also to involve the people in that. We also have the program, the regular competitions organized from our side, from the district Ganga committees, etc. So as in our water talks, in our talks which we do regularly, we invite the students of the Navodaya Vidyalaya, the students from the that schools, so Kendriya Vidyalayas, they all get associated with us. So in a way, using various platforms, we are linking the children to our program, and they are also taking part in a big way.
Ma'am, are we doing for something again with the children for soil health?
यस सो अभी मैंने आपसे थोड़ा सा शेयर किया था जैविक सांप सीढ़ी. इसी संदर्भ में नमामि गंगे को भी हमने अभी एक सांप सीढ़ी स्नेक लैडर गेम बना के दिया है. फर्स्ट वी आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट विद फ्रॉम द किड्स, क्योंकि इट्स अ स्नेक लैडर गेम जो कि बहुत इजीली, और ख़ास तौर पे चैलेंज कब आता है जब अशिक्षित या थोड़े कम जो पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं उनको समझाना पड़े. मतलब देखिए हमारे देश में ना ट्रेंड बन गया है, हमारी एक मेंटालिटी बन गई है कि उठा के सारा कचरा वहाँ डाल दो. हमें पब्लिक अवेयरनेस, हमने कैंपेन्स कर लिए, बहुत कुछ कर लिया. थोड़ा खेल के माध्यम से बताएं. ये एक साइकोलॉजी होती है कि जब आप ये करोगे तो सांप डसेगा, नीचे आ जाओगे, और अगर आप ये करोगे तो ऊपर चढ़ोगे, सीढ़ी है वहाँ पे. तो दिस इज़ अ वेरी इनोवेटिव कंसेप्ट. और आपकी जानकारी के लिए बताऊँ, हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ पतंजलि से एक बच्चे ने इस पर PhD भी की है, एंड ही इन्वॉल्व बहुत सारे, उसने अम्बाला और कुरुक्षेत्र के बच्चों को, स्कूल के स्टूडेंट्स को इन्वॉल्व किया है, साइकोलॉजिकल बिहेवियर पे किया है कि क्या उससे इस गेम से साइकोलॉजी चेंज हो सकती है. बहुत अच्छे रिजल्ट्स आए हैं.
One more point I mentioned. See, we have very close association with the NSS and the universities. A lot of universities we bring them, and their students also come into our webinars. So the connect with the university students is also very much.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, everybody. I think we've had a very wonderful round of discussion here. Okay, I'm going to sum up the main points of what we've been kind of inferring, through the kind of discussions that we've had today. I think first it was very clear from what everybody said, and also the interactions that we've had with you, that it makes a lot of sense to invest in healthy rivers. And when I say invest, it's economizing, the healthy rivers aspect. It's not just from a development perspective. Yes, of course that comes, but it's also from a livability perspective. It kind of enhances livability to a great extent here. Again, number 10, it was again very, very evident that it's going to take a concerted effort from different categories of stakeholders, right? Government agencies such as NMCG, of course, they are there, right? But we also need a number of other stakeholders like NGOs. We want people groups, citizens groups, to kind of come together and play their role, in realizing the concept of Arth Ganga. And finally, the key to, and this was very beautifully pointed out by Manu sir, that the key to to realizing or to implementing the concepts of Arth Ganga is understanding that the river is actually a system, right? It's not a standalone unit. It's a system of interconnected elements. It's a system of interconnected sectors, and more importantly, it's that interaction with society. And we have to understand that, right? So he very rightly said that it's not always low-hanging fruits, right? It takes a little bit of effort to understand, what those interactions are, and then synergize and enhance those, those interactions sustainably going forward, right? So thank you very much once again, everybody. It was a great pleasure having all of you. I want to thank all the speakers once again. Ashok sir, Ved Priya ma'am, and Manu sir. It was a real honor listening to you and moderating you today. And I hope you have a great time at this expo event here. Thank you very much.
If I may request Prateek from Exhibitions India Group to please join us in presenting the mementos. Thank you, Mr. Bhatnagar. Thank you to Dr. Arya. Thank you, Ashok sir. Thank you. And thank you to our moderator, Mr. Shinde.